What is up, guys? Welcome back to another video. My name is Nash, and in this video we're going to be creating a digital clock using Python. It's going to be the same thing that you saw in the thumbnail. That's what we are going to be creating here. All right, so to get started, we do need to import some packages. So the first one's going to be the tkinter. I think that's how you say it. But so let's go ahead and get started here. We're going to go ahead and hit from tkinter, which is right here. We're going to import tk. So this is going to allow us to create a small window on the screen, which is going to be kind of like the background of the entire clock, right? So that's why we need this. Enter. So we're going to do from tkinter. We're going to import label, right? So that's the label. All right. So the label is going to allow us to actually add the text on the screen, right? So we have a background, which is going to be the window, and we have the label to add the text on the screen. Now we're also going to import things like time. So import time, and we're also going to import system. So sys. Okay. All right, so the first thing we're going to do here is going to be to create a variable that we're going to assign the tk here, which is going to be the window. So we're going to call this big underscore clock, right, is equal to, let's say, I'm going to use our window tk. That now we have our variable here. All right, so next thing we're going to do here, we're going to go ahead and add the title on the variable. So we can go ahead and say big underscore clock is equal to actually dot title, right? So this is adding the title, and on the title you can add anything you want on here, right? We're gonna say digital clock. Okay, let's go ahead and make this uppercase. So clock. I'm gonna go ahead and run this. So nothing is going to happen here. So to see something, we're going to go ahead and loop this, right? So what this is doing is this is bringing up the window, right? It's going to be what we're looking for. And also here, this is going to add the title on the window. We're going to go ahead and loop this whole thing so it stays on the screen permanently, right? It's kind of like creating an infinite loop. So let's go ahead and say big underscore clock, and then is dot main loop, kind of like that, and then there we go. All right, so now that we have this loop, I'm going to go ahead and play this, and now you can see that we have a little window on the screen. So you can see the default size is very small, and you can, I believe you can adjust this. If I can just you can adjust this. We're going to fix this to create our own default size, so you can see the title that we just added here, which is the digital clock. All right, so let's go ahead and put this on the bottom here because we want this on the bottom of the code. So we're going to go ahead and create a function here. So def, and we're going to call this one get time because that's literally what it's doing. So get time, right? We have our function. All right, the first thing in here is going to be to get the time. So first thing is going to be, we're going to create a new variable. We're going to call it the time var. We can call this time var or time variable. Here you can name it whatever you want to name it. We're going to assign time to it, and we're going to get the string. So we're going to convert the time into a string. So strf and then time, right? So string from time. So we're getting the time and we're converting it into a string. So we have to tell it what we want it to look like as a string. So to do this, we're going to open parenthesis, open up some quotes. Now the first thing is going to be the hours, right? So the hours, you want to do percentage I, uppercase I, and then semicolon here. And then for the minutes, you want to do percentage and then M. And then for the seconds, you want to do percentage, and then I believe it is going to be S, right? And then for PM or AM, you're just going to do percentage and then P here. Okay. All right, cool. So now this is going to get the time. I'm going to run this so you guys can have a good look as to what's happening. So if I put this on here, there's still nothing on here. So we're going to go ahead and keep coding here. All right, so the next thing is going to be actually pulling up the clock itself, right? So we have created a variable here, and we've stored time in it in form of a string, right? Where we have the hours, the minutes, the seconds, and then the AM or the PM. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and grab the clock, and then we're going to configure this. So config. You want to open this up, and then we're going to say text is equal to and we're gonna grab the time variable that we just created above there. So time var. So what's happening here is we're essentially just adding the text that we created in this variable into the clock, right? All right. So I'm going to go ahead and hit next up here. Now, one thing, if you notice here, if you're using PyCharm as I'm using, you can see that if you have not used an import, it's gonna be grayed out, right? As you use them down here, you can see it having color on it. So I think that's pretty cool. So since we just used the time import here, we have it highlighted. All right, so we stored this text, which is stored in this variable, and we've added it to the clock. So let's play this. Now we still don't see anything. Let's go ahead and keep going. All right, so next thing is gonna be do clock dot after, okay, and then 200. So this is gonna be 200 milliseconds. So I'm gonna do get time. I'll explain this in a little bit. Get underscore time. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and close this little gap here. It doesn't really matter. So what's happening here is the clock is going to get the time. So we're using our function here, which is get time, to get the time every 200 milliseconds, okay? All right, so let's go ahead and run this. I like to run this so you guys can kind of like have a good idea of what's going on here, okay? So now let's actually design the clock here. Let me go ahead and exit out of that. So we're gonna go ahead and go clock is equal to, so this is where we can actually, customize how it looks. So feel free to kind of like tweak this part. It's gonna be equal to the label, which we imported up here, right? So the label, I'm gonna open up parenthesis here, open that up, and I'm gonna go ahead and grab our big clock variable, which we created up here, right? And I'm at a comma. So the first thing I want to customize is going to be the font itself, because we don't have anything on that screen that I just showed you. So the first thing going to be the font. I'm going to equal sign, open parenthesis, and I'm going to put this in quotes. So let's do Arial font. I think this is a pretty good font. You can do Calibri. There's a bunch of options. You can just literally go on Microsoft Office Word and you can try to find some cool fonts that you can use and just copy that. And we are gonna make it 100. Right, the size of the font is gonna be 100. Now exit this, comma. Now we're gonna change the background to, we're gonna call it, go to black. Okay. Now, what else can we change here? We can also change the foreground, right? FG is equal to, let's change that to white. Okay, this is gonna be what the text is, right? Kind of like the background of the text itself. This is the background of the, I believe, the window itself. Okay. All right, cool. So now we have our design here. I'm gonna go ahead and run this, and we still don't see anything. Okay, let's go ahead and keep going here. All right, so once we have this, we're gonna go ahead and pack everything into the clock, right? So what we have been doing here is gonna be just assigning all these things, like the time itself and how the time looks, and then we have kind of like defined what we want the font to look like. So the next thing you want to do is gonna be to pack all of this onto the this window itself, or the screen itself. So we're just gonna go ahead and do clock dot pack. Okay, there you go. That's the function here. I'm gonna go ahead and run this, and you're gonna see some magic here. So now we actually see something on the screen. Let me go ahead and make this a little bigger. You can see something on here. We're gonna fix that in a little bit. Okay, so we have packed everything inside, right? You can actually see what was packed inside. So we're gonna call our get time function that we created up here, so it can be looped, right? It can be added to this. So I'm gonna go ahead and say get underscore time, right? And then like that, and then now I'm going to open this. There we go. Awesome. So that is going to be how you create a clock like this. Pretty simple code, and as always, there's a link in the description below if you just want to download the code. But I do recommend actually doing this on your own and actually learning how it works. I think that's the best way to learn. But if you just want to download the code and mess with it, go ahead and click the link in the description below. But thank you so much for watching, guys. Make sure to go and hit the subscribe button below if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.